Let's talk about how to pass the Diageo video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Read English here to help you get hired. Today we're going to be talking about the drinks giant Diageo and how you can pass their video interview. If you want more help to pass your upcoming Diageo video interview, make sure you check out our Pass the Interview pack in the link down in the description below. So if you've never watched a Pass the Interview video, here's how it goes. It's split up into 3 parts. Part 1 is we go through the recruitment process and what you can expect. Part 2 is we cover the most common questions that were asked during the video interview. And part 3, we cover other questions that were asked in a quickfire round. All of our research comes from publicly available sources from candidates who took this interview in the past 6 months, and we then collate those into a research note which you can find in our Pass the Interview pack, and I'll be reading from today. So let's get started. Candidates said that the process lasted about 1 to 2 months. You apply online. They generally reported 3 stages of interviews which focused on both competency and technical ability, which is linked to the company's values, with a first interview with the talent team, then a hiring manager, and then with a senior leader. And finally, the final stage was being entered into a virtual assessment centre. So here are the 6 most common questions that came up from Diageo. These are questions that candidates reported being asked multiple times. These are questions that were asked to different candidates and repeated themselves, so we feel like it's much more likely you're going to get asked these questions in your interview. Question 1, describe a situation where you've had to come up with an innovative solution to a problem. So this is a competency-based question. We'd want to use the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result. And there are 2 important things to remember about STAR. Number 1, you want to use the experience which is as close to the job that you're going to do as possible. And in order of preference, that would be work, volunteering, societies, and finally academics. Now that's not to say if you don't have any of those experience apart from academic that there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you do have some work experience, then it's great to provide that. So when using the STAR format, what you want to remember is to place the emphasis of your answer on the action. This should really make up 70% of your answer. So for example, in here, we're talking about, well, how have we found an innovative solution? An innovative is just a new solution. This is the skill which the interviewer is looking for. And it's a good trick to remember for any competency-based question. What is the skill that the interviewer is looking to ask me to demonstrate? So when thinking about an innovative solution, what should we think about? Well, first of all, what is the existing solution? What's wrong with the existing solution? How do I go about finding a new solution? How do I bring people on board with my idea? And how do I take that idea all the way through until a result? Now, an innovative solution doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel as such. It could just be a new and more efficient way of doing something, or, well, in my old job, we used to do it like this, so how about we do this? Or just bring in new people, searching out new ideas, or just thinking of something that isn't readily obvious. You can kind of think about this like thinking outside the box as well. For example, a new and innovative solution that we tend to find at work is sometimes we will switch around meetings, when they are, how long they are, how we communicate, how we assign tasks or what people have to do, and how we manage our own time. And we're always experimenting and trying new things because, of course, everybody is different and every member of the team does things differently. Question number 2 and 3 are actually very similar. What do you know about Diageo, and why do you want to work for Diageo? Now, if you want an in-depth answer to this question and how to answer it, make sure you click the card up in the top right-hand corner, which also contains a worksheet which you can download and fill out yourself. Now, when thinking about how we answer this question, we weren't able to find the timings for how long you get to answer this question for. So we're going to assume that you're going to get about 2 minutes. Now, in my experience, that's just enough time to give you about 5 fast facts. Now, I'm going to give you one of the facts from the research note just to give you an idea of what I mean by a specific and a useful fact that they would like. With over 200 brands and sales in more than 180 countries, Diageo are driven to be the world's best brand builder. So that's actually taken from Diageo's website, and it's worth kind of saying here that really all you need to do is put in 15 minutes of research and you can find pretty much everything that you need to know about the company from their website. It could be their About Us, their history page, their annual quarterly report if they're a publicly traded company, their news, their blogs, reading about the different products which they provide. Depending upon the company, it could be a service as well, and trying to pick out 5 things that are of interest to you. Now, of those 5 things, I would recommend at least one of them pick something which really resonates with you. So for example, it could be a particular brand that Diageo do. They do a lot of alcoholic drinks. You could say, well, this has always been my favorite brand, and I can remember when I first had it and the difference that really struck me in the quality of the product that was being provided. What this does is, number one, it breaks up your answer, so it doesn't sound like you're just listing off a number of facts, firstly, secondly, thirdly, and it becomes a little bit monotonous and boring for the person listening and also for you. And it gives you the opportunity to naturally inject a little bit of your personality and your opinion into your answer. Question number 4, describe a time you've had to lead, had challenges, or disagreed with a decision. See, leadership is really interesting when you're picking out again and listening to the competency question. If you ever kind of think, oh my God, I don't know what to say, again, just think about what is the skill that they're really trying to test here. So they're asking about leadership and they're asking about disagreements and decision making. So one of the consistent problems that I have had in the past with being a leader is trying to separate what I want from what other people want, and also not taking things personally, being ready to take on board criticism, and importantly, being able to make difficult decisions, put in the hard work, and also sometimes just admit that you're wrong. Leadership is about marshalling the resources that are at your disposal, and also to a certain extent being able to look into the future to see opportunities and threats and things that lie ahead of the team, because you may have a team of people who you're working with or working for you, and that's not really their job. They're just concentrated on, doing a spreadsheet or a document or a report or a design, or, that's what they're concentrating on doing. And then they'll finish that and go, well, what do I do next? And if you're standing there going, well, I don't really know, what do you think you should do? Then what this creates is a sort of an aura of a lack of confidence in that person's leadership ability, particularly if they make consistent wrong decisions. And it's something that I still grapple with today in myself. And I find good leaders are really just prepared. They put the time in. I try to, when I'm not super busy, I try to spend a lot of my time reading, planning, thinking, trying to think about the next move, the next thing that we can do and how we can improve what we already have and make it better. For those of you who've watched the channel for maybe the last year or two, you have seen our set change many times, the quality of our production change, and it is a consistent process that we're always working on as a team. Question number 5, what's your weakness and how could you overcome this? Now, this is a really good prompt in this question. What I would say is generally when people give weaknesses, they tend to give weaknesses which are false or not particularly genuine. So what they'll do is they say, I work too hard, I struggle to say no, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Now, if those things are genuinely true for you, then it is something that you should lead with. But what I would say is try to lead with a weakness that has an element of genuineness about it. That's really something that you struggle with. 2 of my biggest struggles are time management and organisation. It's something that I consistently come back to, and I'm always trying to work on by, number 1, admitting my mistakes, planning my time better, asking for help, and seeking out resources and advice that are outside of my own kind of sphere of thinking, because I can get very much stuck in my ways at any age and not really take on board what people have said. And when you're talking about how you overcome it, so you can outline the weakness, you can give the situation where this weakness kind of came to light. So maybe if you were disorganized and then you had a team meeting and people were like, oh, have you done X, Y, and Z? And you said, oh no, I haven't done this. And you gave loads of excuses. And even though no one said anything, you can see by the look on their face, they're a little bit disappointed with it. So you go away from that and you think, well, how can I avoid this situation happening next time? Well, first of all, instead of going to do something new, I'm going to sit here and really think about how can I manage my time effectively and make sure that I get a really good job done there. Then I'm going to plan that into my diary, and I'm going to say no to a couple of other things which aren't as important for me to do this week, and say that either I'll do them later or that's not something that I can do. And then I got the result that I wanted, because when we met for the team meeting the next week, people were really fascinated, intrigued or impressed with the work that I had done. Question 6, tell me about yourself. For an in-depth answer, make sure you click the card up in the top right-hand corner, because it's going to give you an in-depth way to answer this question plus a free worksheet. A really good personal introduction is basically split into 6 parts. What are you doing now? What have you done in the past 3 years? What would you like to do in the next 3 years? Work experience, extracurricular activities and skills, and finally skills, interests and hobbies. Now what I would say to you is, if you haven't refined a good personal introduction, this is a really good thing for you to work on, particularly if you've not done any interview practice at all. I tend to find a good personal introduction lays a really solid foundation for being able to competently answer any interview question you could come across when it comes to competency-based questions. Definitely this is one you want to rinse, review and practice on a daily basis. So here's a couple of other questions we came across which we found interesting. How do you plan development inside and outside of work? So for me personally, I always have a course that I'm doing or a book that I'm reading. It may not necessarily be related to work, but it's just me expanding my learning and being curious. Question 2, tell me about a time when you worked under pressure. So what was the pressure, what was the deadline, and what were the things that you did in order to make sure you got the result? Question number 3, what would you hope to achieve in the first 6 months? If you're a graduate, I think even if you're a professional, it's really just to get used to the pace, to learn and to integrate within the team. And question number 4, tell me 3 things about yourself that you would bring to the role. Make sure you check the job description, pick out the 3 skills, any 3 skills that the company has outlined are really important for this role, and talk about how you would demonstrate them. So not just strength, but strength plus experience equals this is why it would be good for this role. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that you've enjoyed this video and it's useful. Drop us a comment down below and let us know how we did. Was this video helpful? What other videos would you like us to make? Is there anything that we can do to make these videos better and more useful for you? Thank you so much for watching. See you later.